out the hand, switch, shooters on swoosh, hitters don't miss. Already just added a ton of y'all to my list. Bitch, death wish, not to be messed with, tested quiz. They shooting shots, hitting bricks, we testing the kids.
Welcome to Deep Thrones, the most entertaining podcast in the world of Ice and Fire. I'm your host, Sims. My partner, Sheedy's here. What's up, Sheeds?
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Going great. And we are happy to have an esteemed guest here, Matt Conrad, who's joining us. Number one fan thus far, sends feedback every episode, recruits friends and family to listen. So we had to have him on. Matt, welcome to the show.
Yeah, happy to be here. You guys, for somebody who didn't read the books, you make it a lot easier to digest everything that's going on. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for
Course,
being here,
appreciate it.
Matt. Hey, Matt, do you play any instruments by chance?
I had a bachelor party this weekend, and I forced myself to watch the episode Sunday, and I just finished the episode today, and I think I was on the way home from work when you were talking about the band. As you can tell, my voice isn't great. I probably can do some Johnny Cash type tones, but I have never played a musical instrument besides Guitar Hero. So I guess
Right.
if you got a Guitar Hero in there, I could figure that out again, and I think you're on your own.
No, we could do two vocalists. That's fine. I'm still in the same boat needing people with instrumental skills, but that's fine. Yeah, we'll talk after. We'll talk after.
We need a soprano and what's the other one called?
I'm not
Also,
sure. Yeah.
Alto. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys can alternate. So, um, well, Sheedy, it's still playing in with the bad boy look. You got a green bandana on. Is that another leather jacket or what else is going
This
on
isn't
there?
leather. I'm kind of actually, truth be told, after this, I'm going to Guitar Center. So I kind of just I wanted to have the look. I'm going to go there because I need to have instruments, but also maybe do some recruiting just to see if anyone's jamming in the store. Because you know, sometimes people in the store will kind of like pluck the strings a little bit, and maybe I
Mhm.
can do some field recruiting. So, there's a Guitar Center by me. I believe it's open late.
I don't think guitar centers are open that late, honestly.
Maybe not. I don't know, but I'm going. I'm gonna go recruit some talent.
You're gonna be standing outside in the dark. Hey,
Yeah.
you got an instrument?
What's up? You want to jam?
So this, of course, is our Deeper Thrones episode where we take a deeper look and catch some of the stuff that we might not have mentioned in our first review. This was a packed episode. We have a lot of rewatch notes here. So we'll go ahead and dive in if you guys are cool with it.
I'm definitely cool with it.
Oh,
Yep.
thank you. Thank you for your permission. Larys is rushing Aegon to walk. What do we think his motivations are there? Because we know, if anything, we know about Larys, whether it's sniffing feet or climbing up ladders, figuratively. What do we think his motivations here are here? Sheeds, you can lead us off.
I think it's at the end of the day, Laris realizes that Aemon will never be someone he can manipulate, and Aegon is someone with power that he could manipulate, so he needs Aegon to resume his place as the head of the table. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo that. And I also, just today, I was thinking about how weird it is that, Laris has the foot issue, but he also is in defeat. You don't see that all very often where it's, both your disability and then also what you're into. Like Jamie Lannister wasn't into girls with hands when he got his hand cut off. So just a very interesting fetish for a man.
That's a good point.
That's a great point. Yeah, no one really thinks about girls with hands as much as they think about girls with feet.
Yeah,
That's
true.
true. You never hear of a
Yeah.
hand fetish.
I mean, we got some research to do.
I'll
Next,
I'll handle that. I'll handle that.
you got that one?
Yeah, I got that one. Go ahead.
Next up, Kristen Cole and his boys are on the march. We saw a little bit of glimpse of this when Ulf White was flying over King's Landing, but it appears as if he took a lot of the troops that were manning the garrison at King's Landing with him. What do we expect there? I mean, do you think Ulf White is smart enough to catch on to that and report that back to Rhaenyra and team, or do we
No,
think we're just going to be fine?
no.
No.
Ulf didn't. I don't think Ulf recognized anything. I think he was on a bit of a joyride. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I honestly think that he, as soon as he got on the dragon, he forgot everything that got him to that point and forgot Rhaenyra is, the one who got him there, got him the opportunity, and he honestly, I'd be surprised if he came back fully. So
That's a good
Matt,
point.
as someone who hasn't read the books, what were your thoughts on that scene with Ulf riding Silver Wing to King's Landing, Aemon chasing on Vagar, and then having that kind of stare down at the end there?
I thought it was sweet. The one thing I noticed, which I don't know, maybe I didn't notice before, Vagar has so many holes in the wings. Like they're flying, and I'm just like, damn, there's a lot of space in those wings. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I thought the donkey and the dragon and Trek was a great. It's just I think this is the wild card of the group, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to rein them into the war cause.
I agree. I agree with that.
I did have in my notes later on, but while we're on the topic, Vagar's back has to hurt. Like it looks like she's just lumbering through the air. Like you said, there's all sorts of wounds on her. She's like got skin sagging or scale sagging. Like I feel like that's got to be a painful flight every time she flies up there.
Yeah, she's been through a lot. She's seen a lot of things, but she's don't don't do that. No wishful thinking about Vagar's health. Vagar's fine. The Greens are fine, even though they're outnumbered like 10 dragons to 3, I guess, right now, if you're counting Dreamfire and Tessarian, but it doesn't matter. Vagar is the size of like 4 dragons, so it's
All I'm saying is maybe Vagar could use a little Laris and Orwell physical therapy. That's all I'm saying.
that's actually I would love to see that scene. I would love to see that. Or while rubbing it with like creams.
You would love to see that.
Yeah, I just said that, Chris.
Um, I thought it was cool that they have Vagar because obviously she's too big to fit inside the dragon pit, so they have her just outside the gates, kind of blending in like we saw at Rick's Rest. I just nerding out a little bit, but I've said it on the last episode we did. Those little sort of attention to detail aspects, like give you confidence, right? Like some of the issues that we've had with the show are a lot to do with pacing, but I think there's very few plot holes or very few like what the heck what happened here. Whereas toward the end of Game of Thrones, we saw a lot of that. So I still have confidence that we're going to get to the right spot. But overall, there's been some pacing issues.
Yeah, I agree with the
Uh,
pacing issues.
So the Vale's holding out right now. We left off with Rhaena being kicked out with Aegon and Joffrey, and looks like Sheep Stealer was there torching things, but essentially looks like Jane Eyre is not going to commit her troops to Rhaenyra's cause at this time. This is a departure from the books. In the books, Rhaenyra had the Vale almost immediately on her side. Of course, her mom Emma Arryn was one of them, and they were tight. Like they even had like the Aaron Falcon in Rhaenyra's personal arms, which is like the banners that she flies. In the show, it's just a red
Oh,
dragon on a black field. But in the show, it was quartered with two black dragons, or I'm sorry, two red dragons on black, and then the Falcon of Aaron. And then there was the Stark banner in there as well. So interesting, like kind of changeover, I think, making Jane Eyre be a little more hesitant. Thoughts on that? Do we like that change so far? What do we think about the Vale storyline here?
go ahead, Matt. What do you think?
Well, the storyline is constant for me since I didn't read the books. Yeah, it just seemed like that the Aarons just don't that actress just doesn't have any emotion in her face. I wasn't sure how to read it. I'm learning from you guys that that there was that bond in the books, but yeah, ultimately I feel like having a dragon on the island is probably going to be something that kind of changes her mind if that dragon gets tamed.
Yeah, also her neck, insanely long. I think we've said this before. She looks like Caraxes a little bit. She might be part dragon. We're not sure. I think that is an interesting change because they're not making anything easy for Rhaenyra. So, like the only troops who've been pledged to her cause at this point are what the Starks, the 2000 Stark soldiers. So
Mhm.
it really is a Southern versus Northern war at this point, if you think about it. King's like the continent is essentially split in half. The south side is rooting for the Greens, and the north side, Riverlands to the Vale and up. We think, right? That's who Rhaenyra has been focused on. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and I did want to fact check myself there. The other quarter in her personal arms was actually House Valerian, not House Stark. So um, fact check there. But to your point, Sheeds, her land army right now is almost non-existent, except for maybe these River Lords that are going to come on with Daemon. She did at one point have a couple loyal houses in the Crown Lands. We saw what happened when Kristen Cole actually took initiative and got rid of those houses,
They got fucked
or
up.
I should say flipped them to his cause. But we did hear that houses allied with Beesbury were harrying the Hightower troops marching east. So those ones are loyal to Rhaenyra. They didn't name who they were. We, of course, have a hunch who they are, being House Tarley and House Rowan, but we'll see if that's confirmed coming up.
Slim
Um,
Pickens, they'll get stomped. We're not even gonna see that. They're already defeated, probably going into next week. Tessarian's gonna take care of that.
Caesarion, the Blue Queen, Darren the Darren's Dragon,
Yep.
Darren the Daring's Dragon. Wow, that's a lot of D's there.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a lot of
Darren
D's.
the Daring's Dragon. Daron the Daring's Dragon. Wow. Yeah, that is
That's
tough.
tough. That's tough.
Oh.
Okay. Rhaenyra, things aren't coming easy for her, like we said. Jace is not happy. We had friend of the pod, Rob, reach out to us earlier today and mention, you know, what is going on with Mysaria's close confidence with Rhaenyra. Jace questioned it directly when they were talking about the lowborn being recruited to Red Dragons. It seems like the small council is starting to kind of catch on to it because Mysaria does not have a place or a seat at the Black Council table right now, which is interesting because
Yeah.
she asked to be Master of Whispers, but she's not at the table. So let's open that up. What do we think? Are there going to be any consequences with Mysaria's interaction privately with Rhaenyra?
You go ahead, Matt.
I don't know about consequences. I think just in terms of Jace, it's a very interesting character for me because I think I hated him right at the beginning. I didn't really like either of those brothers, similar to Sheedy with the younger brother. Yeah, and then there's like scenes where I'm like, oh damn, he was really strong in that scene. He has a lot of good points. And then he's back to this. He's just like, who's my mom hanging out with? It almost reminds me of like, a kid with a single mom who keeps bringing new guys around, and he just
Oh
keeps pushing them
no.
away. And it's kind of that. It's like, why is this person spending time with my mom? She should be spending time with me.
I think something you said there is really important when you said that Jace had a really strong scene. Yeah, a lot about
Okay.
Jace and Luke and all the little bastards running around Dragonstone. But yeah, no, I totally agree about the Mysaria thing. Like, she's not like have her at the small council then if you're gonna trust her. She
Hmm.
was a stowaway on a boat who they kept as a prisoner, who she then freed, who was supposed to leave, who told her that Arik was there to kill her, and now she's her most trusted advisor over her own son. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
like you gotta like normalize her in front of the rest of the small council, or else there's going to be questions. They're going to be like, well, first of all, how do we know she's on your side? Isn't it a little weird that she showed up around the same time as, that's what I would be saying. Rhaenyra's vetting process is non-existent. She's like,
Yeah.
dragon seeds. I don't know any of you guys. Get in there and take one of them dragons. Yeah, get in there.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you'd at least do like some sort of character interview.
And
Yeah.
it's not
No,
like they should
that's
be like hi. Sorry.
no,
Oh,
go
go
I was
ahead.
ahead.
going to say, it's not like they should be like hiding her ideas. It feels like every time she talks, you're like, oh damn, that's a real good idea.
Agreed.
And it's not like any sketchy game plans. It's just like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, and not something that anybody at the table's thinking about right now.
Of course. But I serious, like, let's give food to the small folk that are starving. That'll look positive. Like, why not tell Corliss and the team, like, hey, she said to do this, and now the small folk are rioting in our name against the Greens. That's a win. That's a net positive.
Yeah. I would think the only hesitancy to not introduce her directly to their small council would be she's lowborn and she's a woman. But as we just saw in the last episode, being lowborn doesn't mean anything to Rhaenyra anymore. And also, her whole claim is based around the fact that women can rule.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really make sense why she wouldn't be directly introduced to the small council there. Maybe it's because Rhaenyra has sexual feelings toward her. I don't know. But that wasn't in the script, so I don't think that would be the motivation.
Yeah, I don't think that kiss is ever coming back. Maybe not this season. Maybe they'll address it in season 2. But like you said, since it was a spur of the moment thing, and since they film out of order, who knows if that scene was filmed after they already filmed like episode 9, or
Yeah,
episode 8.
that's
You know what
true.
I mean? So it's if they do address it, it won't be till next season
It's
because it's not
true.
in any of the scripts. And again, as we discussed, the writer's strike was while they were filming, so they couldn't really rewrite anything to account for it.
Well, Rhaenyra was definitely on a power trip this last episode. We saw a lot through this whole season was really her trying to avoid just diving in and kind of trying to find her own way without killing people. And now I think, especially in the scene where we saw her touch Vermithor and turn around and have the power of the dragon behind her, I think she really is taking up this role as like a divine savior. I mean, she mentioned that the gods are kind of choosing this path for her multiple times last episode. How do we feel about that? I mean, to me, I think this is kind of a start of a slippery slope, right? I mean,
Definitely.
you definitely like don't have that kind of conviction and not lead to some bad decisions in my mind, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts.
I got a lot to say, so you go ahead, Matt. I'll close this one out.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's always had that feeling that she's there for something greater. I do think it's funny. I guess I don't know the history of Aegon the Conqueror's dreams. Typically, when I have dreams, I tell them to somebody in the morning, and people are like, "You're a nut job." So it's interesting to me that dream is gone. Generations at this point, and still people believe it to be true. But yeah, ultimately, I think she's finally at a point where she's making decisions and confident in those decisions, and I think that's more exciting for the show in general than just her sitting around and kind of just waiting to see what the Greens do.
Mm-hmm.
Before I go on my rant about Rhaenyra, that's a great point, Matt. Like, imagine them being like, Aegon also had a recurring dream that like he couldn't open his high school locker, and he was super nervous about it. But he had that like all the time. It was a stress dream, we think. This is Chris. It's interesting you talk about the destiny thing with Rhaenyra because and her, like you said, just sort of her divine savior thing. Now she feels so justified. And we hinted at this. I hinted at this on Sunday, controversially so, that she has caused the death of a lot of people with very little remorse. And Aegon was pro small folk. I think that while I've been on this power trip about the Greens being the bad guys, it's so ripe and it's there for the show writers if they want in season 3 to make it a really complicated show. A switch is happening where the internet really looked at Aegon as like kind of like, oh, he's a misunderstood. He's made mistakes. We're not defending that. But Rhaenyra now is going to, and to see the internet at the end of that episode when she's standing with with all those dragons and Aemond flees, it is cool. But let's not forget that her guards were forcing those people to stay in the room and take that smoke from Vermithor. Let's not
No.
forget the forced death at her hands. Let's not forget last season when Rhaenys killed all those small folks as the beast beneath the boards. Let's not forget this. Um, you know, just as
Well,
we go
well
forward.
said.
Yeah,
Well said. I would love some ambiguity added to the story.
agreed.
Because that's what we fell in love with Game of Thrones, right? You didn't know who to root for. You think you're rooting for the right person, and then the next episode you're rooting for Jamie because his hand got cut off.
Ramsey, constantly rooting for
Ramsey.
Loved Ramsey. He was great.
Ramsey's not really in that category, but Theon, I
Mhm.
mean, talk about like all time, like, oh, I hate this guy, he sucks, and then it's like, damn, I feel sorry for him. So I think you're right. It is kind of in the show writer's hands to really draw that out in this story. It's possible they can do it. Have they proven to do it to this point? No.
I think to this point they have been Rhaenyra stands, so to speak. And if you wait, because there's spoilers there, but if we don't see Nettles going forward, I think we talked about this off air, Chris. I think that's even a further tip of the cap to them trying to protect Rhaenyra almost. Rhaenyra not knowing about Daemon's plans to have Jaehaerys killed at the beginning of the season is very protectionary, in my opinion, of Rhaenyra's characters. Where if it was Aemond, if the shoe was on the other foot, Aemond would have been like, yes, kill all of the children if you can. You know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Aemon didn't want to kill Luke. I mean, I thought that was a good kind of
That's true.
nuance on his character.
That is true.
So,
Yeah,
so a
he
lot to think about
didn't
there.
want to kill him.
I know.
I mean, it was boys being boys for a little while, and then
They
Vagar
were,
was
It's
like,
like
none of that.
I tried to pull that dragon back. I
yeah.
didn't mean to do it.
Luke's dragon technically blew fire on Vagar and Aemon first. They escalated it.
That's
Actually,
true.
we haven't discussed enough Luke's. That's kind yeah, no. Fuck Luke. What an idiot.
But Luke
Uh
didn't say Dracarys. I mean, the dragon just did it.
he
What
probably
was it,
thought he
Tyraxes? Just
yeah,
did it.
doesn't matter. That's control your dragon, dude.
It's true.
It's like
It's true if
when
you're
a
pet.
little kid runs up to you, on the playground and he hits you first. You're saying just take him out. I feel
No,
like that's the vibe I'm
I
getting.
did
Just
not say that.
Vagar's a lot bigger of a dragon.
I did not say that officially.
Man, heard it here first. Sheedy's taking out kids. Um, no mention of the cannibal or gray ghost. Those are two other dragons in the books that are wild dragons. I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't fundamentally change the story, but one thing it does with dragon lore, if they don't bring them up, is that all dragons can be tamed, essentially, then if they just continue down this path, which I don't necessarily love for the grander story, but again, smaller point, but something to keep an
Yeah.
eye on as we go forward.
Nothing major to
Um,
add there, but I just want to quickly say that, like, based on the fact that we didn't hear Daron's name until like 2 episodes ago, anything can happen.
that's true. It's a good point. The Dragon Tamers. So this was the second time that we see a major like kind of monologue in this story throughout the 2 seasons where people mention that we aren't the ones who control the dragons. They're not playthings for us. This could lead to ruin sort of deal. And I don't know. I mean, is that a foreshadowing, or do we think, that they're just being exaggerating here?
No, it's like we just talked about with Tyraxes and Vagar at the end of last season. They're beasts that have a mind of their own. You know what I mean? It's like what you see this all the time with people who are like, you know, they do those acts with lions or with bears, and it's all fun and games until the lion and bear remembers, oh, I'm much bigger than you are. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah,
Anything to
I
add
would
there,
agree with
Matt?
that. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think yeah, it's an interesting concept because yeah, the second the dragon realizes that it's just a person on their back that they can destroy pretty quickly, it's the timeline can change. So I don't know how strong that bond is between human and dragon. I don't know that I fully can dive into that, but it's definitely something that's in the back of my mind.
Something to keep an eye on as we move forward. There's a lot of little seeds that they plant, and you never know if it's going to pay off. I think last episode we saw some good payoffs with the dragon seeds. We saw a little bit of their character development. Some of it seemed a little forced, but now it makes sense why we saw it. Ulf White seems to be kind of a POS, maybe. At least like a drunken liar. I mean, we saw him kind of cower out of wanting to finally say that he was a Targaryen and go claim a dragon and stuff. And he pulls like what we've all pulled before, like, oh man, if I didn't play basketball a little bit too hard a couple days ago and roll my ankle, I'd definitely be out there doing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. What do we think? I mean, Hugh Hammer seems like he's more of a stand-up guy, but what do we think as far as these Dragon Seeds characters, and how do you think it's going to play out long term for the Blacks?
I trust Hugh a lot more than I trust Ulf, just because Ulf is like you said. But also, like, that doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He's just he's one of those dudes. That's my interpretation of Ulf. He's just one of those guys. Um, from the Greens' perspective, it's not good. Like I said, the dragon to dragon ratio from green to blacks is not a good thing for us right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Alf White seems like the friend where he's telling a story and you're like, all right, I feel like this maybe has some basis in truth, but I feel like you're kind of just exaggerating most of it, 70% of it. Hugh
Mhm.
Hammer definitely seems like an appealing character to me, so I'm hoping that he ends up helping them because I know he's on kind of it's the second biggest dragon, Vermithor,
Yep.
so definitely a very important piece of the lore.
I agree. Ulf White is that dude that's like not at all that likable, but he's like, dude, oh, on Friday I had like 48 beers. And oh man, I was hanging out with this girl that looked just like Sydney Sweeney, and it's like none of that. none of it. And you're just like, I know, I bet. Yeah.
Those are the worst, the beer counters where they're like, oh
The beer.
man, I'm on my 11th beer right now. It's like, dude, who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. What are you talking about? I don't care.
um, so here's a question, and I don't know. I do know what happened, so I'm not going to say anything. Um, the repeated mentions of things. I mean, we talked about the dragon tamers and stuff. Hugh Hammer's wife mentioned her brother in Tumbleton twice, which like up until those two mentions in the entire lore of Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, Tumbleton has never been mentioned once.
Yeah.
So what do I mean, Sheedy, you might know what it means, so maybe I'll kick this to Matt. Does
Go to
that mean
Matt.
anything to you? Or is that just kind of like glossed over in your mind?
Uh, I mean, I honestly, until I saw the call notes, I didn't really recognize Tumbleton as anything that I would have known. I
Mhm.
just think she has a brother there, and she wants to get away from things. So I'm going to be on the lookout for the references moving forward because it seems like I should be.
It's definitely Chris is definitely calling a wink, wink, nudge, nudge attention to it. Tumbleton. Don't Google it. All right. Be
Don't
surprised.
Google it.
But
Don't
also,
Google it.
I appreciate that you mentioned the call notes because I just want the people out there to understand how freaking professional we are. That we are so prepared for this. It's crazy.
Well, I mean,
The
if
living
you
document.
exactly a living document, and if you take stuff seriously, right? Like there like it is a fantasy show, right? But like all you got to do is open up Reddit or TikTok or Instagram, and like people are passionate about this stuff.
Spoilers and hard opinions and like arguments on Reddit about scenes. It's crazy. It's crazy. Remind me after this that I got to go to Guitar Center because I forgot. And you're right. I Googled it. It does close at 9, I think, and it's 8:30. So that's tough.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up the rewatch notes there. Well, actually, one more thing. There was in the look ahead that we saw in the next episode in the finale, there was two things that kind of caught my eye. One, there were a couple dragons flying toward Harrenhal, which I
Couple.
think we're to assume is one of them is Rhaenyra. I would think. I don't know who she's flying with. Maybe Jace. Maybe one of the new dragon seeds. And then there was also a muddy fight, and I paused here to kind of diagnose like what that was. Because I got excited. I thought it was going to be something different, but it looks like it was just like two people kind of smiling and fighting and rolling around in mud.
I think it's a Lannister. I literally
Okay.
think one of them is the Lannister guy. I could be
Okay.
wrong. I was hoping it was Mysaria and Rhaenyra just playing a little grab ass on Dragonstone, but it's not. I think it's the Lannister guy. Um,
It could be just boys being boys at the Golden Tooth. Like, I don't know.
I'm glad we're getting that scene.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But you did have something in here that I wanted to quickly touch on, which was the Allison Lake scene and like interpretations of it.
Yes, yes, yes,
I had
yes.
I had a thought on that, which is like I was like, are they being way heavy-handed symbolically of her kind of like cleansing herself, like almost a baptismal thing where it's like, well, this is out of my hands now. Like even in her worst desires of usurping the throne for Aegon, which she was sort of gaslit to do from Otto, she never intended for Rhaenyra to die. Like she wanted it to be a peaceful, just please let us have it. Like maybe that's her way of being like, it's in the boys' hands now, and that is some solace that I guess I can escape from.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good take on it. Well, Matt, I'll let you go on your interpretation of the Allison in the lake scene, and then I will close us out.
Yeah, I mean, that was some good stuff, Sheedy. I'm not going to compliment you too much, but that was a great little explanation there. I figured she
No,
just wanted to go
compliment him
chill.
more.
Sometimes.
Sheedy loves the compliments.
You don't need to on the air. Just text me after.
Yeah, but I mean, I was coming into this thinking maybe she just needed to chill. Sometimes you're working a lot, and you're just like, you know what, I'm gonna go lay back in the pool, hammer, or slam back a few beers, and yeah, I think your explanation's a little better, but I'm gonna live in my little world.
It would be embarrassing for me if Condell came out and was like, she just wanted to take a dip. You want to take a little swim?
It's like
She's
85 outside, pretty hot.
Yeah.
she's glamping. She's out there glamping.
Glamping.
Um, my take on it is that she despite all of her moves from the beginning to slither into power. And make no mistake, even though Otto kind of manipulated her, quote unquote, even though, she was good friends with Rhaenyra, I think there was a self-interest and a self-motivation to become queen of the Seven Kingdoms and be able to have a lot of influence in what happens, not only like politically, but I think a lot of it was like for the betterment of her family. The more power she has, the better she can take care of her kids, the better she can, take care of Otto and so forth, her brother. So yeah, I think now she realizes that all of that's stripped away from her. Um, Emotionally, it's stripped away from her. Rhaenyra is broken off from her. Viserys, of course, is dead. Aegon's toasty, and Aemon just hates her.
Aegon's
And
fine. Aegon's fine. Go ahead.
he's at worst a little toasty. So yeah, I think now she's got everything stripped away from her, and she's almost trying to cleanse herself of this and find a new purpose. I think is kind of what her motivations in that scene were. That's my take on
The show writers might also be trying to find that new purpose for her. It might be like, she goes for a swim, and maybe she can go to Harrenhal and have visions.
Dude, I was gonna say, what if she starts having visions in the lake, and then there's just like 3 episodes of it?
We all would be better for it, wouldn't we?
I don't know. You were commenting on how clothed she was in the lake.
You don't need to bring off-air conversations out of the pod, but it stands to reason. Like, who swims in like their nightgown? That's the part that was weird. They don't have bathing suits in King's Landing for these folks.
It would
That's a
also
good
be
point.
impossible to get off later. Have you ever tried to swim with a shirt on and you like try to get it off?
Yeah,
It's just like takes forever to come off. It's stuck to your body.
it is. She's gonna get all tangled up in that. She might drown. She might drown. They got to get it. Sir Rickard Thorne better be right there to save her if she does go under, because that's not safe. That's why I said that, Chris.
All right. Next up for Team Blacks. And we only have one more episode left, so they have a lot to kind of put a bow on. I have a feeling that this next episode may be a setup for season 3, but hopefully they do tie up some loose ends here. So next for Team Black, they do have more dragons officially, and they're full-grown dragons. They're not the baby ones. Are we going to see some dragon training in the next episode? Are we going to see a move on King's Landing? I don't know. Dragons flying to Harrenhal. So we talked about this in the look ahead. We saw 2 dragons flying there. We also saw Sir Alfred Broom finally made it to Harrenhal in that look ahead. So more to come there. Rhaena is still doing her thing in the Vale, trying to chase down Sheep Stealer. I don't know if they're gonna have something happen next episode or if that's gonna be a season 3 thing, but also keep your eye on that. The Northerners still, of course, have access across the Twins. We haven't seen them move south of the Twins yet, but I think in the look ahead we did see some what looked like northern men walking
Oh yeah,
south of the Twins. We hinted on this. Jace can't be happy. Again, that beyond the insecurity, but just like the lowborn being able to ride dragons really takes away from his legitimacy. So we'll see how that continues to play out. And
read it.
it looks like a note snuck its way onto this living, breathing document. For the first time in 7 episodes, Rhaenyra was not boring.
The team,
Wow.
the Green Council has literally carried this show from the depths of boredom. I want that on the record. Rhaenyra's scenes border on tedium sometimes, and you could be like, well, what was her most exciting scene so far? Like, I don't know, when the Green sent Arik to try and kill her? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
I thought for sure you were going to say making out with Mysaria there.
No, I was thinking it, but I wasn't going to say it. That was an exciting scene because that also was when they sent the food. I was more excited because it validated something that I had said on the podcast. I didn't care about the kiss, Chris, at all. What's next for Team Greens? This is great. All right, let's see. Aemon now knows about other dragons. We're going to see his reaction. I don't think it'll be good. I think it's going to be very angry. On the look ahead, we know Tessarion, the Blue Queen, is in the mix. That's Daeron the Daring's dragon. That you're right, Chris. It's impossible to say. But we also know that he, in the look ahead, is going to ask Helena if she's got what it takes to hop on Dreamfire and get in the mix which
Mhm.
I want to say this on the record right now. She might be the rumors abound that she might be pregnant because like Maelor has to factor into it somehow, and we haven't had any mention of Maelor, which is her and Aegon's child. But I love Helena on Dreamfire. Make it happen, Condell. That's a change for the books I would love to see is her very active on Dreamfire. We got more Aegon physical therapy. He's doing great. If this was a football injury, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks. He's back in the action. Allison glamping. She probably will be doing some more glamping. Maybe swimming in less clothes would make more sense. I'm not, again, you don't need to make this a weird thing. This is just us having real, genuine conversation and observations about the reality of the show. It takes me out of it when I see that.
For those not tuning in on the YouTube version of this, you got to be able to see the disbelief in his own words that's on his face when he says these things.
Listen, first of all, this is just how I look. So for you to say that is not nice. Secondly, maybe I'm just speeding along because again, Guitar Center closes in a half hour. Ormond Hightower meeting resistance. Not really resistance. It's like a speed bump. He's slowing down a little bit, and we're gonna wipe Beesbury off the map. Just like Kristen Cole wiped Beesbury in the small council meeting. That's gonna be no problem. Daron and Tessarian en route. Will we see Daron? Probably not, but we will see a figure on Tessarian. I doubt he's been casted yet. That's a tough thing to keep quiet this long into the season. Kristen Cole is on the march to the Riverlands. He's having Nam flashbacks still. He says we're marching toward our annihilation in the look ahead. He knows what dragons mean for ground troops, not good things. Also, on the look ahead, I don't know, this is probably not in the books, but Gawain pulls his sword on Kristen, Chris. I don't know if you saw this, but my boys are fighting. It's just boys being boys, a little grab ass, little march grab ass. And then Jason Lannister's hesitation at the Golden Tooth has proven to be a bad idea. I disagree because it looks like he's mud wrestling next episode. It looks like it's going great. How's the dragon build?
I think just to add to this, some color on the Golden Tooth situation, that did lead directly. I mean, there was a window of time where the River Lords were not behind Daemon at Harrenhal. So had he just kept going, like, yeah, he would have had to deal with Caraxes, but thousands of men against one dragon. I mean, all it took was one Night King to bring down what was that dragon's name? Viserion.
Darion. I don't know if Jason has a Night King guy on his roster. I don't know if he's got a Night King adjacent dude who can launch a freaking rocket, at a dragon. That's the thing. If Aemon did show up while the ground troops showed up, they would have routed Daemon. Like totally.
Oh, yeah.
Like wouldn't have been close.
And then Gawain pulling the sword. So we did, for those loyal listeners, weeks ago, I think it was after episode 2 or 3, the one after whatever Rick's Rest was, but our midweek episode, our Deeper Thrones episode, we did mention what would be the fallout between Gawain and Kristen Cole after Kristen Cole was knocked out of the fight, essentially, and Gawain led the troops to storm Rick's Rest. So maybe we'll see what that fallout looks like in the next episode.
Every little faction that exists, Kristen's little situation, the small council, Aegon and Aemond, the Black Small Council, Rhaenyra and her son, Daemon and the River Lords, infighting and mistrust everywhere you look. I mean, I think the strongest bond in the entire show right now is Rhaenyra and Mysaria. And maybe
Yeah.
like Jace and Bela, but we don't get enough scenes there for it to matter to me.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, sad. I think Allison and Helena could have been girls, but didn't
Yeah,
really work out that way.
they are. They are. I think Allison likes Elena. I think that's her only child that she likes genuinely, and she doesn't know Darren. So
Yeah. So House at the Dragon Belt. Again, running out of steam a little bit on these. We've talked a lot about the main themes throughout these, but some quick hits on House that the Dragon Built that we saw. The Dragon Showdown scene on the beach between Adam of Hull and Rhaenyra Targaryen. They did actually shoot that on a live beach. They had to deal with bad weather. They had to deal with the tides rolling in. Apparently it was really cold. So I don't know. Anything to add there? So
Clinton Liberty was like, man, he plays Adam of Hall. He was like, this was rough. And he said that Emma was just like, no reaction, just like, let's fucking do this. Emma seems to just be an absolute rock star. It takes me back to when people were like, man, we're going to miss Millie. and Emma is like a total unknown, even though Millie was as well. We're going to be a whole new Rhaenyra, and we're like, well, you just got to give him a chance. And Emma has been literally, I think everyone can agree that their acting is out of this fucking world.
Agreed. Matt, anything to add on that scene?
No, I got nothing on that you haven't said.
They're pretty straightforward. The Harrenhal Godswood. So this was actually pretty cool and new for the house that the dragon built. So they talked about kind of the lore behind the Harrenhal Godswood. They talked about how it's close to the God's Eye, which is an island on a lake that's very close to Harrenhal, but the lore behind that is the Isle of Man is on that island, which is like one of the most holy places for those who worship the old gods. There's a lot of weirwood trees there. Allegedly, there's children of the forest that still live there. So very much like they invoked that vibe when they put together this Harrenhal Godswood. Keep in mind too, this Godswood would have been a lot bigger before Black Heron cut down the weirwood trees to help build Harrenhal too. So there is kind of like a haunted, like malevolent kind of feeling to this Godswood, which I thought they brought out well with kind of having broken carriages around and broken stone nearby. But they hand carved these, I guess, like almost silicone platforms to make the weirwood tree, and they carved a little silly goose into it.
Dude, I loved it.
you,
They
you can reveal the
it
silly
was
goose.
George R. Martin himself, and they had him like on set, that cute little lawn gnome. He shows up and he's like, "Hey, thanks guys, that's really cool." He loved it. And what if he showed up and like what if its mouth was like open, like a little hole? What if he'd been like, "What the fuck are they doing with this thing?" That would have been pretty awkward, right?
It didn't seem like he loved it. They just showed him saying like, "Thanks, guys."
Yeah, I think he's got to act. I think he's just trying to play it cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's trying to be cool.
Yeah.
He's never.
but go
I don't think
ahead.
he ever had like a cameo in Game of Thrones. I don't think. And this is technically not a
No,
cameo, but I don't think he was ever in Game of Thrones. I don't think they've ever had him cameo in any of the shows. This is his closest to it. It didn't look exactly like him.
no, and they even said like when they first carved it, it did look pretty identical to him, but then when it came time to kind of bring the tree to life, they kind of made it more faded and put the, the infamous red tears on the weirwood tree
You know George
face.
was hyped like on the inside. You know he was
I hope
like,
he gets to like keep a cutout of that thing. That'd be cool.
"Oh, for sure." You know he loves when he gets to visit set because then he doesn't have to write Wins a Winner. He's like, "This is a great break from writing the book that I don't write."
It's true. It's true. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too far into this, but in the kind of scene that they were checking out the weirwood tree, it seemed like Kondo was trying to be like overly serious, kind of. But then, like when he was being interviewed, he was like smiling. So like I didn't know if he was like posturing in front of George. I'm probably reading way too far into it, but
He's a Hollywood guy. Condell sometimes says things in the house that the dragon built that I'm like, take it easy a little bit, dude. Kind of a bit of a fart, kind of fart sniffing his own farts a little bit.
he's getting there. Hopefully, I mean, it's still a long stretch away from Dan and Dave, but
Their look backs, like when if you finish an episode of Game of Thrones when those guys talk, it's brutal. We haven't reached DEFCON. Danny kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet yet. We
yeah,
haven't reached
yeah.
that level yet.
Hopefully, we never will again. And then we wrap up House That the Dragons Built with the Dragonmont scene with Vermithor and Silverwing. They talked about building that elevated set where the dragon seeds were standing on. Of course, they used real fire. They torched up to 16 people. They had like different handheld cameras to kind of give it that real in the moment feel that we saw when we were watching the episode. Anything to add on that one?
No, I thought it was great. We talked about the fire before.
Mhm.
They had to rebuild that elevated set to make it smaller because they had people in masks for the fire and they
Mhm.
had to like all these safety stuff that they have to do on these sets. Pretty fascinating.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a pretty sweet job if you have the body to take all those blows. You just like
I
go to
agree.
work and you're like, I'm probably gonna get set on fire today, or I have to jump off a bridge. It's crazy life.
I always thought that that would be a very short-lived career, but then they had a stuntman that was like 76. And I was like, wow, I mean, imagine I mean, I sleep and sometimes wake up in pain. Like, imagine what that guy feels like.
Yeah, that dude.
Yeah,
Hats off to him. Hats off to him.
his kids and
Uh,
grandparents are just like, Grandpa, please retire, please. Like, you can't go through this.
He's
Again.
like, you don't fucking tell me what to do. I'm gonna go get set on fire today.
I was in World
Grandpa.
War II.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully he has a pension. Time to have some fun, fellas. So we've been on a long journey throughout 8 seasons of Game of Thrones, throughout almost 2 seasons now of House of the Dragon, and all the midweek episodes as well, and the off-season stuff too. Don't forget about the off-season stuff. People forget about the off-season stuff.
What we're doing right now is Deep Thrones episode 96.
Wow. So we'll be at that Hundy mark very shortly and doing the Thronies. But the reason I brought up our lineage here, we went through building our own house, right? And we had house memes. What was the name? Was yours just House Sheedy?
Mine was House Sheedy of Sauce Creek.
Yes, House Sheedy of
And our
Sauce
words
Creek.
were instead of winter is coming, I think it was like ass eating season is coming or something like that. Some highbrow, real deep comedy, and this is too. So
Okay. Well, and then we built our own dragons. So Sheedy's was Phoenix, the Sky Dong, again highbrow. Um,
start to see a trend of regret over years.
and so now we're going to create our own castle or stronghold. And we're going to have lore, kind of an explanation of the castle, and then we're going to have some features there as well.
Matt, as our guest, you have one. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, so I named mine Rad's Rest, just kind of off Rook's Rest, but with the play on my name. The vibe here is that we have, Sheedy, you don't know me, but I'm a tall guy. So everyone who lives here is tall, intimidating. Nobody really wants to go to war with us, and that's cool because all we want to do is chill. I want to have a Hall of Fame room. I think it'd be cool trying to mix in like a Harry Potter vibe where you can talk to the paintings, but at the same time, it's just like you walk through maybe a big tourist attraction where you're walking through and you're like, oh yeah, this is the blade that, killed this guy, or, just having kind of a Hall of Fame, not voted on by the baseball writers, but just voted on by, real people who care.
Love it.
Thinking like having like a nice Olympic pool, some good areas to work out. Not that I was, going to work out, but just knowing it's there and saying, maybe I'll get in the pool later and swim some laps, having something like that. I was trying to figure out a ghost, and I kind of came up with a good ghost. There's only one ghost at Rad's Rest. It's Sir Perry the Plump. So the legend goes that there was a big eating competition back in the day, and he choked on a blueberry pie and died. And now he just kind of haunts the castle. Anytime there's food around, he kind of goes in. He's like, "Hey guys, just be careful chewing, because you might end up like me." And they like, all right, get the hell out of here, Perry.
Imagine the dreams Damon would have if he ever visited Rad's Rest.
There's like, yeah. Let's see. Everything's real chill. I already said that. I want to have a room kind of like the Moon Tower, but like it's just everyone's relaxing, and as soon as you have bad vibes, the floor just kind of opens up below you, and you get sent out of the room. And then the last piece I want to add is I want to have not only a moat to keep people out, a big thick moat, but having a lazy river kind of as an inner circle of that. So you have the moat on the outside, and you also have the lazy river, so you can relax while the knights are kind of keeping the enemies at bay.
I love Rad's Rest. That sounds great.
Yeah, well, everything sounds great except the floor trap for the bad vibes, like because you don't want to slip up. I might like say the wrong thing and then be gone.
I'd be fine. Yeah, you'd be gone. I'd get out, dude. I would get out my acoustic. We'd have a couple of the other fallen angels there just pounding the legs a little bit for some beat, and I would be absolutely plucking the strings. And I can imagine Rad's Rest, really the vibes being very high, very high. That's actually, I love that castle.
It could be the first. It could be the first venue for your concert. or for our
Whoa.
concert. Am I in the band?
Wow.
Well, yeah, remember we're dual vocals. We're doing dual vocal. We're like Simon and
Yeah.
Garfunkel. We're going with that kind of angle. I'll do mine now, Chris, and you could close if that sounds
All
good.
right. Sounds good.
So mine is a play on my name. My name is Sheedy, so my castle is called the Sheeter. Uh, wait, hold your applause till the end. Thanks. So it's in the north. It's like between Winterfell and the Neck, and in the lore, it was built by Bran the Builder because he realized that they needed like sanitation in the Seven Kingdoms is terrible, and they needed a castle that could sort of serve as like a sanitation hub. So they came up with the Sheeter, um, which essentially it funnels all of the waste from the
All
Seven
the sheed.
Kingdoms, yeah, to the Sheeter, and they needed a family to look over the Sheeter, and they just call them Sheetheads now. And the Sheetheads look over the Sheeter, and I got some notes in here. It's for the removal of the North's waste. Again, this was built by the Builder, and it's said to be impenetrable by dragons because they won't go near it because of the smell. So that's kind of
Mm,
an interesting thing.
mm.
Um, the Sheetheads again because they're in charge of the shit, or because they're in charge of the the Sheeter, which is the castle. And their task is to assure that it never clogs. And it's like above the neck, but below Winterfell, so it's really in a crucial part of the north. Kind of near, I think like Moat Caelin's in that area.
Oh
It's
yeah.
near there. Um,
When it's
it's
when it's not moving around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's built out of stone, but it's like a blue. The walls are kind of like a bluish, and the top is kind of gray, right? And the inside's got like a lot of porcelain looking. And every room, the doors are not big enough for the room. Like they only cover a little bit of the like connector, and only like 30% of the locks work. But it's crucial. It's crucial. If you don't have a good sheeter in your Seven Kingdoms, people are in trouble. And this is the kind of highbrow stuff that we offer you guys on a week to week basis that keeps people
Yeah.
coming back. My parents listen to this podcast.
Listen, you need a good sheeter, and you need sheet heads to make sure that it doesn't clog all this. So, I mean, in the case that it does clog, like, what's the process for,
Let's
keeping it
just
flowing?
let's just say you don't want to be a squire because your job they push him in there. Essentially, they give him like a swirly. They throw him down deep, and his job is to sort of clear the gap, so to speak. And it's a thankless job, but somebody has to do it. People in a world that Rhaenyra, we talked about this on Sunday, Rhaenyra being about, not worrying about the small folk as much. She gave them food, but that was a political tactic, but she's still with the small folk, the bastards, right? It's like that fealty thing. The Sheeter is, yeah, they're a noble house. They're not a great house, but they're lords technically, but they're the ones that get the real work done. They're not blue collar, they're not white collar, they're like gray collar, when sometimes they get a little bit of brown on it.
All right. Well, I will close this out here. Mine is familiar. So when we introduced our houses seasons ago, I
Mm,
was House Mims of the Boyhold.
the boy hold, that's right.
So of course my castle, my stronghold is Boyhold. It's located in the Stormlands, uh, near the Dornish Marches. It's on the slope of a mountain. Okay. So, the Dornish Marches are mountains. Think of them as like the Alpines separating Italy and France, like the Dornish Marches separate Dorne and the Stormlands. So Boyhold's on the slope of the mountain. It looks like a modest holdfast, from the outside. You only see about a third of the castle from the outside, but the real workings is within the mountain. So you have about two-thirds of the castle inside of the mountain, and that is where you find the precious nectar that makes Boyhold so important. And in there, it's a metal alloy inside Boyhold, and it's called
You say boy hold or
it
boy
is
hole?
Boyhold, and it's called Stardust inside Boyhold. And
Oh,
Stardust
hold.
hold, yes,
Okay.
correct. Yes,
You got
like
some,
stronghold.
you got dust in
Uh
your boy hold.
yes,
All right.
correct.
Okay.
So the Stardust is invaluable. It makes some of the strongest weapons outside of Valyrian steel. Actually, Dawn, held by the famous Knight of the Kingsguard, Sir Arthur Dane, was made out of stardust. So very valuable weapon. And that's why a lot of people try to attack Boyhold, but it is impenetrable, kind of like the Eyrie is, right? You have to climb up a mountain to get to it. Dragons can penetrate Boyhold, unfortunately. So you have to be careful. You have to make sure that Boyhold's covered up when dragons come by. So
We might have an issue with the sound. You're saying boy hold?
Boyhold,
Oh,
stronghold,
this whole time I thought
Boyhold.
you've been saying hole.
Yeah,
And I
come
was
on,
like,
get your
it's a
mind,
hole in a mountain.
get your mind out of the gutter, man.
It's
Come
a
on.
cave. Okay, yeah, keep going.
But yeah, so that's it. It's in the mountain. It's impenetrable. It's got the stardust in Boyhold, and dragons can penetrate it. So you got to cover it up. When dragons are around.
And who's your shooter? Because the
Yeah,
waste has to go somewhere.
that's true. What's your waste strategy?
Hmm.
See, what's the inner workings of this castle? Tell me, what's it made out of? What's, I guess stardust or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, you mine the stardust out of the mines, but like it's regular stone, like it's mountain. It's like,
Do the Baratheons like you guys? Or are they like this fucking house? You
yeah,
got to
yeah,
deal with these
we're
guys.
we're 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 Stormlords. We're part of the Stormlands. We help keep the Dornishmen from raiding across into the Stormlands.
When Boris tells your whole or your hold to raise your banners against Queen Rhaenyra, are you going to do it?
No, absolutely not.
Same. The Sheeds will not fight for Queen Rhaenyra. Our focus is we're like the Night's Watch. We stay out of matters of the Seven Kingdoms that doesn't have to do with shit.
All right. Well, we'll put up a poll on our Instagram. You can vote for your favorite castle. Send us questions about this the Sheeter. We want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, and when you vote for your favorite castle, you can vote for a great time and high vibes, like Rad's Rest. You could vote for something that's pretty cool and mystical, like the Boyhold. It's got that dust. Or you can be pragmatic and be really thoughtful and vote for the Sheeter. Because you know what? Sounds like those places don't have a plan for poop.
Well, Matt, thank you for joining us again. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in week and week out and all that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a good time.
Of course. And listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of Deeper Thrones. Please like, share, subscribe. Follow us on YouTube if you don't already. Sheedy continues to elevate the game with the outfits. And that's all I got.
It's just how I dress. I appreciate that. But Allison's hit me up. Aegon's Fallen Angels, our first song might just be about you.
Whips, check out the hand switch. Shooters on swoosh, hitters don't miss. Aria just added a ton of y'all to my list. Bitch, death wish, not to be messed with, tested quiz. They shooting shots.